Welcome back, YouTube fans. This is a review of the Psycho-Pass Dominator 1-to-1 scale mock-up. Now, this Dominator is not the really expensive one many people have seen on the internet. The Dominator in the show will unfold and transform. This is a static shell. It cannot transform, unfortunately, but in many ways that may be better. Anyway, let me just take her out. Now, as you can see, it's a good size, especially with my hand. I have moderate size hands. But as you can see, it's a nice, exact copy of the Dominator from the show. It has the little spots for lights and such. I kind of suspect this is some sort of off-model one. Like, well, not off-model so much, but one without the electronics added. There may be a version that you can get with the electronics added in. But like I said, it's a shell, nothing inside. Didn't cost me very much from the show I got. The guy was trying to get rid of them pretty much. But it's a good, solid mock-up. And to be honest, I kind of think this is a better choice than getting the big electronic one. It's not as expensive, for one. I got mine for very little compared to what that one is. It's several $100s. This one only a couple of tens. But this one also has all the details, the blue translucent light areas, the one up here where the energy beam is discharged. It's a really cool, nice mock-up, and I really like it. The show is also really twisted and weird. It's set in a future Japan where they have isolated themselves as much as they can from the rest of the world. And in this world, they have basically created basically a similar system to the Minority Report movie's Future Crime Division. Except instead of having psychics predict the future, they're doing it slightly weirder. They're basing it off people's emotions. They basically have created a test system that reads people's current emotional state. And they have basically a color-coded chart that indicates how your emotions are. The more violent and more extreme or more upset you are, the more your hue switches. And eventually you get to a point where they think you are likely to be violent, unstable, or dangerous. Now, when your hue starts to shift, and you get scanned and reported, because they have things all over the place like 1984 looking for this kind of stuff, they basically send in people to take you in for therapy. But if you go too far, and your color shifts too far, then they send the cops after you. For real. Now, initially, these things have a stun mode, which is this locked form you see. However, when it unfolds and unfurls, it goes into kill mode. The ironic thing is, the police officers don't get a choice of what mode the gun goes to. It's all controlled by a computer system, which, and there will be spoilers here, is not actually a computer system in the traditional sense, but a neural network of multiple people's brains in jars. It's basically how the future system works. They've networked together people with unique personalities or ways of looking at things, which is part of the plot of the show. They find an individual who does not register in their predictive models, so no matter what they scan him as, it always shows him to be perfectly fine, even though he is a complete sociopath. And they want to add him to their brain-in-jar collection, basically. Or collective, if you will. The guns will not shoot at people who are perfectly fine, which renders these things pretty useless against him. Irony there. They only fire at people who are dangerous. And the people who are usually sent to operate these are the people who are on the cusp of being completely uncontrollable and being eliminated anyway. That's thanks for you. In fact, one of the characters is the father of the guy who oversees him. And his color is constantly shifting through the show to the point where he is basically considered a criminal by emotion. Talk about Orwellian horror. But overall, the series is good, showing a lot of the difficulties, because the system is not perfect, as we see lots of cracks in the system. The gun even has a disintegrate mode, which is used only by the machines at one point to dispose of one of the people who they send out because he finds out too much of the truth. So they're hypocritical, to be sure. But the gun is awesome looking, and it does have an interesting design. It kind of makes me think of like Blade Runner or other dystopian future tech societies. I think it's a great addition to anyone's collection, especially if you like Psycho-Pass, Season 1 or 2, or the movies, or the video game even. But I definitely recommend picking this up if you're a fan of sci-fi space guns. Personally, I think this would look cool mounted on a wall, but also it's another good item to buy if you're looking for a bunch of them to make the little unholstering device that rolls out of the truck at the beginning of each hunt and distributes these guns to the people who wield them. And anyway, one other thing I should point out is this thing has a pretty good trigger mechanism. I've had toys when I was a little kid and such, and the triggers were always something that, since they get moved a lot, would either break or damage the parts installed in them. So like an old laser gun I had as a kid eventually stopped working because I had played with it so much. The little pad that's supposed to register that I'm pulling the trigger had burned out. But this actually makes me think a lot of my childhood toys, a lot like the old laser guns I had as a kid. Those were always fun, and I enjoyed those. Anyway, leave your comments below, subscribe to my channel, and leave likes if you would, please, and share this video with your friends. It helps me out a lot. I'd appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.